when the cage built from the essences of the 12 was destroyed, the sky was filled with a colossal cloud of ether. This drifting energy responded to the prayers of those fighting below, and to my own desperate wish that the dying realm be saved by infusing me with the power of a primal. The blow shattered his earthly form, and a shower of ether rained down upon the land. Thus began the rejuvenation of Eorzea.
Hello Eorzeans, I'm Likeel Bravestone and welcome to the Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV Episode 6. It's finally here! Thank you so much for your comments on the previous episode, I really appreciate it. Also a big thank you to all our Patreon supporters and to everyone that's joined our Discord server. If you haven't already, links are in the description. Okay, let's get into the episode. Sunday, November the 11th, 2012. Midnight, PST. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 is no more. All 1.0 servers have shut down and players are no longer able to access Eorzea. 2 AM, PST. Letter from the Producer Live Part 4 begins. A serious Naoki Yoshida and Toshio Foxclone Moriuchi, wearing black suits, greeted the homeless Final Fantasy XIV players. A sense of somber optimism spreads throughout the community as the two starts explaining what could be expected in the Reborn 14, as well as answering questions from concerned 1.0 players. At this time, the alpha version of A Realm Reborn had gone live, and the game was shown off on stream, with yoshi-p running through the Black Shroud 2.0 with all the alpha testers. Also appearing on stream was president of Square Enix at the time, Yoichi Wada, showing off new features such as FC housing and the new race starting gear. Also shown in this live letter was the brand new full active time event, or fate system, that was to be implemented with the launch of A Realm Reborn. As the stream ended, the serious work on making A Realm Reborn a playable game begins. In the alpha version, only Gridania and Central Shroud was accessible, and a very restricted battle system with temporary battle animations and no progression. And let's be honest here, this version of the Black Shroud is actually quite beautiful. It does make you wonder if they chose the Black Shroud as the first accessible area just to show us that, yes, we can even make the Black Shroud look nice now. But as development continued, there was one promise Square Enix was determined to keep: PS3 support. Because Final Fantasy XIV was announced for the PlayStation 3 back in 2009, Square Enix had felt it was the only right thing to keep the promise and release A Realm Reborn on that platform. In 2010, when 1.0 was released, the PS3 was still a popular and powerful platform, hence why the game was announced for it. But by 2013, the PS3 was old and nearing the end of its life, with the PS4 already being announced in February 2013 with the release date in November that year. It seemed like A Realm Reborn was going to release on a dying platform right off the bat. Meanwhile, the mainstream gaming press is reporting on the death and upcoming rebirth of the game. Some puzzled by the move, some predicting the end of Square Enix, while others predict a new golden age of Final Fantasy. On January 7th, 2013, applications for the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn beta began. You could submit an application at either the North American or European beta websites depending on your location. Legacy members needed only apply if they wanted to test the PS3 version, as they would automatically be given entry to the beta on PC. Players who applied for the Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 beta test on the PS3, which never took place, got access to the PS3 beta, but not the PC version. These players had to reapply for the PC version. On December 26th, 2012, Square Enix announced the beta test schedule for A Realm Reborn. The A Realm Reborn beta was slated for February 2013, and all legacy players would get access. The beta would be split into 4 phases. Phase 1 of the beta began on February 25th, 2013, and acceptance emails were sent out from February 18th. This phase was conducted in weekend schedules lasting 4 weeks. Phase 2 began on April 5th, 2013, and the main focus of this test was the gamepad controls. This phase lasted another 4 weeks. Phase 3 of the beta began on June 14th, 2013, and was the first test where the PS3 version could be played. The phase brought about the regions of Thanalan and Lenosha, as well as new dungeons, more quests, and the ability to import your 1.0 character if you had one. Progress was not saved during Phase 3. And Phase 4 of the beta was an open beta and officially began on August the 17th, 2013, with Phase 3 testers given access on August 16th. From the first to the 4th phase, the game saw massive changes to the UI and other systems, making it more akin to what the current UI in Final Fantasy XIV looks like today. The phase lasted until August 19th, and this marked the end of the beta. Early access was set to begin on August the 23rd, and a final release date was set to August 27th. One of perhaps the most surprising changes coming to the game was the soundtrack. The original soundtrack, entirely composed by Nobuo Uematsu, was to be replaced by a new soundtrack to go with the rebirth of Final Fantasy XIV. This soundtrack was not to be composed by Uematsu, but by composer and sound designer Masayoshi Soken, with only a few tracks from 1.0 being kept in A Realm Reborn at launch. This caught fans off guard, as the soundtrack was one of the few redeeming qualities of 1.0. The reasoning for this change was that 14 was being reborn, so to further emphasize the rebirth, new music scores would replace the old ones. Another interesting change was finally implementing Arcanist. The Arcanist guild had been in the game since 1.0, but had not been implemented. The class fundamentally changed, and instead of wielding canes, they would now wield books. The Arcanist was also the first and only class that would branch out into 2 different jobs upon reaching level 30. It will also become the first class with a pet. A full-fledged minion system was also being developed to be included at launch. Several TV commercials started appearing all around the world, some, stranger than others. The US got perhaps the strangest one.
Eorzea was destroyed by a force of unimaginable power raining from the sky. In the face of adversity, we are the chosen, saved by the warriors of light. It is the dawn of a new age. We must become the lifeblood of Eorzea. We must take back this land with might and with magic. Now go forth. Conquer. Rule. Take your place.
Just as these commercials started popping up, early access creeped ever closer. In June 2013, Square Enix confirmed that a PlayStation 4 version was in development and was due to release in 2014. And so, on August the 24th, 2013, it all began. But there was a problem. In North America and Europe, the servers were not up to the task. Shortly after early access began, people started to experience major issues. Several major flaws in the server design made it difficult to even log in. Initially, the errors were caused by remnants of the beta, where characters had been disconnected from the server without having logged out, and then not logging back in until early access was treated as, "You're still logged into the game, please log out." If you were not one of them, you could be served with the error 1017, informing you that the server was full but did not put you in a queue, putting enormous pressure on the login server. Those that did get in experienced extreme latency and lag, systems took forever to load, general zone load times were incredibly high, and often after a few minutes you would be faced with the dreaded 90k and 1002 error messages, caused by a server disconnect. A Realm Reborn was then put into emergency maintenance, again and again. It was a disaster, and some started talking about A Realm Reborn as just another 1.0 failure, referring to the horrible server issues that plagued that version of 14. Square Enix suspended all digital sales of the game to prevent making the situation worse, and all the pressure was put on yoshi-p and his crew to ensure that the game would be playable as soon as possible. It would take days. A Realm Reborn struggled on for 3 more days of extensive maintenance, eventually having to limit the number of logins on each server and closing character creation to deal with the heavy traffic. On the official forums, yoshi-p is quick to apologize to the players that have been looking forward to an early access weekend but had their hopes crushed. In the post, he asks players to switch to low population worlds to alleviate the pressure on the overpopulated worlds. Again, on August the 26th, yoshi-p once again takes to the forums to further explain and apologize to players, this time under his own account. On behalf of the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn development team, I would like to extend my deepest apologies to those early access participants who have had difficulty using the North American and EU data centers. In response to a variety of issues, we have conducted emergency maintenance several times over the past few days. The first instance, which was conducted 6 hours following the beginning of early access, was to address the 90k and 3000 errors, which were first discovered during Phase 4 of the beta test. Our server team began taking measures to improve the performance of the lobby and duty finder servers. The subsequent emergency maintenance was necessary to implement their changes. This maintenance proceeded as planned, and afterwards we verified that the stability of the instance battles on the duty finder was much improved. However, we then discovered that certain lobby servers had been improperly configured, and we were forced to conduct another brief maintenance to resolve this issue. Although we have successfully addressed a number of serious issues in the past several days, we have nevertheless decided to implement login restrictions for the time being due to the extremely heavy load being placed upon the servers. In this way, we can ensure that the maximum number of players can play the game without risking a server crash. I know no one wants to wait to log in, but I hope you all understand why we believe this precaution is necessary. Once again, I would like to sincerely apologize to all our players who have been unable to enjoy early access due to the tremendous congestion, the ensuing issues, and the frequent maintenance. Everyone on the development and operations team is dedicated to providing the best possible experience for our customers, and we will continue to do our utmost to resolve the remaining and any future issues. It would seem Square Enix had underestimated the North American and European market, and had invested in data centers that didn't have the capacity required to deal with the number of players that were flooding in, seeing as Japan had no issues during early access. Early access was to last until August the 27th, 2013, when the game would launch, but few got to actually play the game as intended in this period, extending the early access playtime by 3 days. On the official launch party of A Realm Reborn, an exhausted producer and director Naoki Yoshida addressed the Eorzeans all over the world with an emotional speech, apologizing for the shaky early access.
まあちょっとやばいっす俺まずご挨拶の前にですね、このアーリーアクセス3日間やってきましたけど、NA、EU の TC の皆さんはちょっとメンテナンスが数回入ってしまってですね、貴重なアーリーアクセスのプレイの時間を多少ロストしてしまったので、今日この放送、全世界に放送されているので、まずその点お詫びさせてください。申し訳ありません。これから先長い旅が始まるので、まあ、その中でまたその、あたりを挽回していけたらなと思ってます。頑張れ。 ファイナルファンタジー14を、引き継ぐことになってもうすぐ3年になります。まあ当初はそこまでまあゲームもね深く触れたわけでもなかったですし、まあなんとかできるだろうと、まああとはやっぱり自分自身 FF が好きで、まあ MMO が好きで、でもプレイヤーの皆さんと本当に開発やっぱりその時同じで、どうにかなんのこれだったり、ちょっときついんじゃないのっていうやっぱり雰囲気もある中で、本当に一つ一つ皆さんに応援をして。
1 week after the launch of A Realm Reborn, and the issues were still not quite resolved. A 10-hour-long emergency maintenance was put into place to resolve the core issues, and overflow servers were created to deal with the new and ever-growing population of Eorzea. After this period, most of the server issues had now been resolved, and the gameplay experience improved vastly. New and veteran players alike was greeted by a revitalized Eorzea, full of stuff to do, clearly having learned from its 1.0 predecessor. But what now of the reviews? Was A Realm Reborn truly better than 1.0? Redemption at last. IGN scored A Realm Reborn a stunning 8.6 out of 10, where it previously only barely made a 5.5, concluding, Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn is a great MMORPG experience on PC, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Grounded in tradition and learning from the lessons of the games that preceded it, it thrives on the strength of its excitingly varied and flexible class system and highly mobile combat. PC Gamer gave it a 79% from its previous 30% score for 1.0, and on Metacritic, A Realm Reborn soared from the 1.0 49% to a shimmering 86%. Finally, Naoki Yoshida's hard work had paid off. Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn was a massive success, with over 184,000 physical copies sold for the PS3, and by October 2013, Square Enix announced that the game had 1.5 million registrations. A Realm Reborn greatly stabilized a deflated Square Enix and saved the reputation of the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy XIV is finally the game it was supposed to be, but the game would still meet many challenges along the way. Challenges we might take a closer look at in the future. But for now, we've reached the end of this episode of the fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV. Thank you so much for watching. It has been such an experience to work on this series, and I've even learned some new stuff myself. I want to especially thank our Patreon supporters. Scrolling above my head right now, your support means a lot to me. Thank you. To those of you watching that wants to get in touch with me and other speakers, make sure to check out our Discord server. Link is in the description. Make sure to check out our Remnants of a Realm series and our 2 new upcoming series, Chronicles of a Realm and Secrets of a Realm. See you there, Eorzeans, and may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.